What's up everyone, MeGP2 here, and in today's video we have level 50 Jolteon and level 50 Glaceon in the Open Master League. Now, I always love running Glaceon because it is very anti-meta. It is just going to destroy all the Dragon types and Landorus, which is nice, and overall just does pretty well into most things. Now, I enjoy running Jolteon because Jolteon just has access to Zap Cannon, and Zap Cannon just hits so hard. Jolteon just has a massive damage output with the Zap Cannon, and I just love seeing Zap Cannons land, and you guys probably already knew that because I run attack Deoxys sometimes. But yeah, Zap Cannons landing is just amazing, and it's even more fun in the Master League. Anyways, that's pretty much it. Let's get to the battles. Alright, so into the first battle, and we lead Dragonite into Gyarados. Now, despite Gyarados having Dragon Breath, Dragonite actually does win this, simply because they have to go for a crunch to do any damage, and as long as you don't get debuffed, the Dragon Breaths do like equal damage. I'd make a catch of the crunch on a Jolteon. I was trying to sneak a Volt Switch, but I didn't. But now the opponent sends in Tyranitar, and I can go for a Zap Cannon. Zap Cannon nearly gets a full one-shot on him, and now I can send in Dragonite. Dragonite will win CMP, and that Dragon Claw will grab a shield. And then go for a Brutal Swing, and now one Smackdown will register, which is unfortunate, but thankfully we should have an energy advantage after catching the crunch. So now, they just let the Dragon Claw go through, and I try to snipe with Glaceon, but the opponent looks like they tried to snipe with Togekiss, and now I'm just going to be able to go for an Icy Wind. Now, I'm pretty sure Avalanche does more damage, but the debuff from Icy Wind means that I'll be able to tank with Charms a bit better, and now, second Icy Wind will take him out, and one Ice Shard takes out the Gyarados, and we do take that game. See a very good lead in the next battle. We lead Dragonite into Kyogre. Now, Kyogre, if they're running Origin Pulse or Thunder, they can still hit for some nice damage, but they don't have anything that can one-shot if they don't have Blizzard. They don't even farm up to it, so I definitely can no-shield the Surf. Now, I'll be able to go for one Dragon Claw. Now, they can go for a Surf, but I can just tank this. Now, it will get me fairly low, but I do get a full farm down. Now, the opponent sends in Haxorus, and as long as they're not running Dragon Tail, I get another Dragon Claw, but of course they are. Now, I have to send in Glaceon, and I only sent in Glaceon because I knew they were on Dragon Tail, and actually go for a Night Slash. They do not get a boost, though, thankfully, and now I can just go for Icy Wind. Icy Wind takes out the Hax, and in the back, the opponent has Togekiss. Now, Glaceon could probably have got an Icy Wind off, but I don't see a point in giving him extra farm when Jolteon can take care of him. Now, I will get pretty low because of the Charms, but one Discharge should take him out, provided they don't get a boost. I throw another Volt Switch just because I can, and it will register the damage, and the Discharge does take out the Togekiss, and we do take that game. We see Shadow Mewtwo on the lead in the next battle, and they're running Confusion. This is also pretty underleveled, and I was kind of surprised to see this because this is actually like 2000 ELO, so there should be like better movesets and stuff, like better than this. The opponent goes for an Ice Beam, and they just let me fully farm him down. I really don't know what their plan was, but then they send in a Shadow Shiny Ho-Oh, which is pretty cool, but at the same time, this team really doesn't make much sense to me right now, and I'm going to be able to probably get them very low and almost force a shield. But now, one Volt Switch should take him out. They go for Brave Bird. That will definitely take him out. And they have Garchomp in the back. So yeah, this team, I mean, like, I really don't know why, like, this team is at high elo, considering the fact that the Mewtwo was underleveled and it was running Confusion. But whatever. It's still a pretty easy win for us, as even if they make it to an Outrage here, Outrage does not KO, as we did debuff them, and we do take that game. We see Gyarados again on the lead in the next battle, and now, we do know that the Dragon Breaths, even though they're super effective onto the Dragonite gets the same type of attack bonus, and just has a higher stat product total, and like a higher attack, meaning that it's still doing nearly the same amount. I try to catch on to Jolteon again, but I fail it. The opponent goes for Crunch. No debuff does mean that we actually do get a full farm down. Now, it depends on what the opponent sends in. They send in a Ho-Oh again. Now I'm going to be able to go for a Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw actually gets a shield. Not sure why exactly, but it works for me. The opponent tries to catch on Mewtwo, and I'm just going straight Zap Cannon here. I was pretty sure they were going to shield it, and they do, which is unfortunate. But with the attack debuff that accompanies Zap Cannon, well, the chance at a debuff, but we did get it. So with that debuff, now they are actually going to have to go for 2 moves, as I'd make it to an Icy Wind. This means that Jolteon might be able to get a full farm down. Now, if I can, that would be nice because I can throw Zap Cannon into the Ho. But the thing is that Ho has a move, and it will win CMP. So they would make it to another move here, so I do have to throw a Discharge, unfortunately. But thankfully, I will tank 1 Incinerate, and a Discharge will take out the Ho. So thankfully, we will be able to take him out and take that game. We see a Dragonite Mirror in the next battle. My opponent's actually on Dragon Tail. The thing about Dragon Tail is that in the Dragonite Mirror, if your opponent has Dragon Breath, and the opponent throws on 12, and you go for the extra, you just farm him down. So I am forced to overfarm to not let that happen. The problem is I throw on slightly improper timing. I should have thrown 1 more Dragon Breath. Because of that, my opponent's able to make it to a Dragon Claw. Now this will take me out, and that slight misplay does cost me Switch, but I can actually send in Jolteon to get a farm down. Now the opponent sends in Mewtwo, and I was figuring they were going to shield, so I was going to just go for a Discharge. And my opponent actually does shield, so it looks like I did get the call right for once, and now the opponent can go for Side Strike, but I'm going to be able to make it to a Zap Cannon. Now, once again, this Mewtwo's on Confusion. Not sure exactly why, but they're going to get taken out. Oh, no. In the back, it's Kyogre, and this game is immediately over. I need to basically debuff them enough to have Jolteon make it to a Discharge, but I don't even think that's possible. And so they can get a full farm down, and Jolteon will get farmed down too, and we do unfortunately lose that game. We see Groudon on the lead in the next battle. Dominant lead. And the opponent is going to send in Dialga. And I'm going to send in Glaceon. Now, yeah, the Dialga safe switch is kind of problematic for this team, as Dialga does beat Jolteon and Dragonite. So I have to send in Glaceon. But the problem is that if my opponent wants to double shield, they can just double shield and fully farm down Glaceon, and I will lose switch. I fully anticipate them to do this because Groudon gets wrecked by Dragonite. But unfortunately, I have to give up a shield as I did go for the Icy Wind. Now, they go for an Iron Head, but thankfully, I do get pretty close to a move. And if the opponent sends in the Groudon, I'll be able to grab that shield back. Now, the Avalanche will grab a shield, and I probably should have gone for an Icy Wind for the debuff. But I'm assuming they're going to switch out anyways, and they do. Now, they have Xerneas, and Jolteon is very glassy. But thankfully, Jolteon's not glassy enough to get one-shot by a Moonblast, and now we can go for a Zap Cannon. Now, Xerneas, not glassy, but still gets one-shot, and giving Groudon farm here is kind of a problem, but also at the same time, it really isn't, because even, I think, up a ton of energy, Groudon still just loses to Dragonite. They're going Fire Punch, which I'm not even sure which one's the better play. Because, I mean, Fire Punch is only single resisted, but it doesn't get same type attack bonus. But Precipice Blades, is a very strong move, and it gets same type attack bonus, but it is double resisted, so I'm honestly not sure which one's better. My opponent is just choosing to go for Fire Punch, though, and that does just mean I'll be able to farm down, and we are able to take that game. We see Garchomp on the lead in the next battle, and my opponent is on Dragon Tail. The opponent tries to catch on to Melmetal. Now, I have to send in Jolteon, as Melmetal does kind of beat both Dragonite and Glaceon. Probably should have thrown a Superpower to start, but it doesn't really matter too much, as even if they are able to just shield and farm me down, a Superpower should take him out with the Volt Switch damage. I am going straight Zap Cannon here, and my opponent actually does no-shield it. That does heavy damage, and we actually do get a full farm down, which is very nice. The opponent sends in Garchomp, but the problem is Glaceon is here, and now Glaceon is even more problematic for Garchomp. Then they go for a Sand Tomb, and then they send in Ho. Thankfully, I'm able to switch out before the Incinerate registers, and now I can just go for a Dragon Claw. Now, the opponent does shield it, and even if they go for a Brave Bird, I can shield it, and it still takes them at least 2 more Incinerates to make it to another one. And so that means that I'll be able to make it to another Dragon Claw even after a Brave Bird. Now, it does look like I'm actually just going to be able to fully farm down, though, which is frankly even better. And now I can just go for a Dragon Claw to force their shield, so that even if Glaceon does make it to a move, it does get no-shielded. And now I do make it to a move, and because I did grab their final shield, this Icy Wind just takes them out, and we do take that game. We see Landorus on the lead in the next battle. Now, Landorus, I'd prefer to have it aligned against Glaceon, but overall, it's still not going to be the worst thing into Dragonite, as once Stone Edge doesn't KO, and they can never farm down. So now I am going to no-shield. They do go for the Sandseer Storm bait, and that's perfect, as I always no-shield the first one. Now the opponent can go for a move. They didn't even farm it to a Stone Edge there. They just went for another Sandseer. Not exactly sure why, but I guess they didn't know if they were going to make it to another Stone Edge. Not really sure. Now, I will be shielding this, as this is enough for a Stone Edge. So, they actually do go for the Stone Edge here, and I do just get a farm down. So, I am able to take Switch. Now, I'm heavily debuffed, so I do have to switch out so I can actually have any effectiveness with that energy. The opponent has Mewtwo. Now, I am just fully throwing away Glaceon here. I understand that that's not really the best use of it, but I did need to clear the debuffs on my Dragonite. Now, I will send in Dragonite, as Dragonite has a bunch of energy, and Jolteon still does not want to tank a Side Strike. Now, I can go for the double Dragon Claws. If they shield this, I am no-shielding and on the Side Strike, and I'm just going to farm down with Jolteon. Now, my opponent probably should switch out to negate that farm, but I'm hoping they don't, and they actually don't, but they send in Kartana. And Kartana is shredding Jolteon with the Razor Leaves, but Kartana is way too glassy, and Zap Cannon nearly one-shots them with resisted damage. It looks like we're still going to lose, but then the opponent throws, and in throwing a charge move, they throw the game as they throw an alignment, as they should have just gone for a farm down, but unfortunately they do lose that game. Wow, that was a lot in like the last 30 seconds. Anyways, into the next battle, we lead Dragonite into Annihilate. Now, Annihilate in the Master League is actually pretty threatening, as it does have a good typing, and it has Ice Punch for coverage, and Ice Punch could actually get close to taking out Dragonite. Now, the opponent does make a nice catch onto Mamoswine, but the thing about that is that Dragon Claw is actually very nice damage, as now I should be able to tank a high horsepower, and Mamoswine still can't farm down, but an Icy Wind should come pretty close to KOing. Now, I undercharge, and I undercharge too much, and they are able to make it to a move. Now, I'm not willing to shield for Switch, so that is kind of a terrible play on my end, but I send in Jolteon to get a Volt Switch. Now, the opponent is going to send in Annihilate. I will just shield. The Shadow Ball grabs the shield, and now, in the back, the opponent has Melmetal. Now, down a shield, this is bad, but I'm expecting them to no-shield the first move, and they do. And that Zap Cannon just lands for massive damage. Now, I can send in Dragonite. They have to throw, as they still have a bunch of difficulty farming down. They go for the double Iron Bash, but now, because I am going to expect them to go for an Iron Bash as the first move, I should have no-shielded that, but they can make it to Superpower here, even if they have it. Superpower doesn't KO, and Thunderbolt especially doesn't KO, so we are able to take that game. See another Melmetal lead in the next battle. Pretty bad lead, honestly, overall, but Dragonite still has some play, and the opponent is overfiring by a lot. I'm just going to go straight Superpower here. I want damage or a shield advantage. I get the damage, I send in Jolteon, and we get a full Volt Switch in. That's perfect. The opponent actually went for a double Iron Bash, and then they have Giratina, and well, that's not good. It's still not terrible, as I can probably just fully farm him down with Dragonite. Now, I should probably just throw a Dragon Claw to get rid of him, but I want a bunch of energy to throw into the Melmetal, and so the opponent actually is running double Nuke Giratina, so some respect to them for that. And unfortunately, they do get the new mechanic, and that's terrible, as now I am just down a shield. Now, they can send in Melmetal, and they did have a double Iron Bash, so they might not be running Rock Slide. Now, I go for Superpower. Sorry, I go for a Dragon Claw bait, and baiting the Superpower. And now, because they shielded that, I can go for the Superpower. Now, the Superpower will not take him out, but it'll come pretty close, and should let me get to a Dragon Claw. Now, this is also a CMP tie, so they can't try and farm down after this anyways. The Dragon Claw doesn't KO because we were debuffed, but thankfully I should be able to have Glaceon come in, and hopefully whatever I have in the back is weak to Glaceon. And, of course, it's one of the 3 Dragon types, I think, that is actually not weak to Ice. And now, I can go for an Avalanche, but Palkia, despite being very glassy, not that glassy, and it tanks 1 Avalanche. We do lose that game. See Shadow Mewtwo on the lead in the next battle. Now, this opponent's also on Confusion. I really don't know why there's so many Confusion Mewtwo's. Now, the opponent sent in Metagross. Now, I am going to be shielding here, and the opponent does just go straight Earthquake, and that's probably for the best that I shielded that, as I don't want Jolteon to get one-shot. Now, I am going to have to throw another move if I want to take him out before they make it to a Meteor Mash, so I will go for the Discharge. Discharge does just take him out. Now the opponent sends in the Mewtwo. Now, they can get a farm down, but they will probably have to commit a shield, as Discharge would do some pretty reasonable damage. Now, I send in Dragonite, but Confusion just lacks the energy generation, so I can shield this Side Strike, and I should be able to make it to another one before they even make it to another Side Strike. They went for a Shadow Ball, though, so they definitely are not making another move. They don't even they don't even switch out before, and now I'm just going to go for a Superpower. Now, this Excadrill will have to shield this, and now I can send in Glaceon. Now, I'm really hoping that they just overfarm here, because they actually have enough energy to make it to 2 Rock Slides, but I'm hoping that they think Dragonite has a bit more energy than it does, so they overfarm, and they do that, and Avalanche does take them out, and we do take that game. Overall, this team is fun to use, but like Jolteon is not something I'd recommend building, as it is insanely alignment based, because it has 3 moves of the same type. Now, having those 3 moves all being electric just means that like if you see a Garchomp, a Groudon, or a Zygarde or whatever, Jolteon is just useless. It basically just gets fully farmed down, as Zap Cannon, even Zap Cannon, does not do much to those Pokemon. Now, if you get it aligned against the right thing, like, Lugia or Gyarados or whatever, it can be fun. And, like, landing a Zap Cannon onto something that it takes super effective from it is always fun. But overall, it's just not consistent enough to actually be worth it if you're considering building one. Glaceon, on the other hand, is actually a pretty fun anti-meta pick, as its insane play into Dragon types is very fun. Now, it also has access to Icy Wind, so it does have the ability to debuff opponent's attack, which does help with the fact that it's not too bulky, and so the being able to debuff their attack is nice for it. Now, Glaceon, like, it beats, like, Dragonite, Rayquaza, Zygarde, Garchomp, and Groudon, and I think Lugia as well. So it is something that actually can do very well into the meta, and it's especially fun into, like, Zygarde and stuff, as I don't have a battle showing Glaceon into Zygarde, but I did run into it once when I was running Glaceon, and it just destroyed Zygarde. So maybe I'll make a video about hunting Zygarde with Glaceon, but in the current times, my elo has gone a bit too low because of the Jungle Cup. So I'm hoping that, like, after a Great League comes out, and then, like, Master League comes out after, I'm hoping I can climb during the Great League time, and then just hunt Zygardes while I'm in the high elos after that releases. Anyways, that's pretty much it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.